As part of today's show, we're going to preview the Warriors' first-round playoff matchup against the Denver Nuggets. So before we get started, let me know who you got. DEN for the Nuggets, GSW for the Golden State Warriors. I think the Warriors are victorious in this series, but get those predictions in the comment section. You're watching Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Here's what we have cooking up on today's show. We're going to start with some Warriors rumors. Should they sign James Johnson, who was let go by the Brooklyn Nets to fortify that front court? We'll get to that Warriors-Jazz preview. And as part of that, we have to hit on the latest injury update for Steph Curry. Looks as though he could play in Game 1 of this playoff series, but we'll unpack all of that coming up here in just a few moments. We start off with James Johnson, released by the Brooklyn Nets after 62 games. Kind of came as a surprise. They released him so that they could sign Kessler Edwards, one of their draft picks this past year, to a two-way deal. And James Johnson is an intriguing player for Golden State because they don't have a lot of center options, and that front court is somewhat thin now that they don't have James Wiseman. Really, they're going with Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, Nemanja Bjelica, and James Johnson would add some much-needed toughness in that front court for Golden State because that's what he brings to the table, man. He's a bruiser. This year with Brooklyn, 5.5 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, only shot about 47% from the floor, which is somewhat surprising and somewhat alarming because he doesn't really take all that many outside shots, and really his offensive game is predicated around getting rebounds and putbacks, but he does have a little bit of an elbow jump shot as well as a baseline jumper. Now, the lack of front court depth for the Warriors, if they have any hopes of making a deep playoff series, somewhat concerning for me. And James Johnson gives you some of that size. He gives you some depth. And also, an interesting factoid, got his black belt in karate. So that is one dude in the NBA who you do not want to annoy. You do not want to cross because you never know. He might beat your ass. James Johnson, at the tail end of his NBA career, I would lean toward not signing him. I think the Warriors are very content with this current roster right now. But you can disagree with me in the comments section if you want, and if that's the case, I welcome that. Should the Warriors sign James Johnson? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm right. Either way, get that comment section popping and get in there down below. Type S for sign or type P for pass. I'm interested to gauge where the audience is at on this one. And if he doesn't sign with Golden State, James Johnson, is he ever going to get back in the NBA? Potentially, potentially not. Did a couple of good things with the Brooklyn Nets this past year, but he certainly is at the tail end of his NBA career. First round playoff preview. The Golden State Warriors, they're going to take on the Denver Nuggets. And honestly, I really like this matchup for Golden State. If the Nuggets had Jamal Murray, they'd be a lot more of a dangerous team, but they don't. They have the Joker, who's a handful, no question. Warriors go into Game 1, going to take place at the Chase Center Saturday night. That's the tip-off for Game 1, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. The over-under, 223.5, and the Warriors are 4.5-point favorites. As compared to the other matchup that the Warriors could have seen in this first round, which would have been the Utah Jazz, I think this is a really good draw for the Dubs because I think the Nuggets are somewhat shorthanded. They'd be a dangerous team with Jamal Murray. But because they take Jamal Murray out of that lineup with that injury, coming off that torn ACL, as well as Michael Porter Jr., not only does that take away star power from a Nuggets team that would be locked and loaded with those two players, but also it really damages their depth. So outside of the Joker, offensively at the end of a playoff game when things get slow, when you really have to execute in that half-court offense, who are the Nuggets going to go to? And can you rely on a big man in today's NBA to be your go-to bucket getter? Now, the Warriors might be without their star for a game, two, maybe even a few games in Steph Curry as he continues to come back from that foot injury. Has not played since March 16th, so we're at a month now because of that left foot sprain. Steve Kerr saying back a couple days ago, there's a chance that he plays in Game 1. But the thing with Steph, he might just be kind of warming up when he comes back off that injury because he hasn't participated in team activities. He's only advanced to individual shooting. The hope was for Steph Curry at the end of the regular season to at least get a game under his belt, Wasn't able to get that game under his belt. They are siding with the precaution here in hopes that Steph Curry is going to be able to buy some time coming off that foot injury so he can be right for a Warriors playoff run. Steve Kerr on the Steph injury said this: there's a chance he could be ready for game one. There's a chance he might not. It's literally going to be a day-to-day thing as it unfolds this week. We'll know a lot more after the next few days when he's ramping up his work. Now, the good news for the Warriors is that there's this extended delay following the regular season going into the playoffs, because the NBA play-in tournament is going to take place this week to figure out those last two seeds in the Western Conference and those 7 and 8 spots. Really intriguing matchups in that NBA play-in tournament, by the way. And that gives Steph Curry some more time to get right, to come off of this injury in hopes that he can really help this basketball team, because they certainly need him. The offense and the complexion of it certainly changes when Steph Curry is on the floor. He's had to be more of a pass-first point guard this year and defer a little bit more, and I think that's a big reason why you saw those shooting numbers dip. But in the playoffs, at the end of games, at the end of the shot clock, you give him the basketball, he's able to put the biscuit in the basket and make things happen. Next up on today's show, we're going to continue our series preview and do more of a deep dive into this series between the Denver Nuggets and the Golden State Warriors. But first, how about the betting odds in the Western Conference playoffs to win the West? No surprise, Phoenix Suns leading the charge at plus 115. Golden State Warriors, number 5. 5-1 odds, Number 2 in odds, but the top 5, it's the Phoenix Suns, Golden State Warriors, Memphis Grizzlies, Dallas Mavericks, and Utah Jazz. Some really good odds there, and honestly, the Warriors being in there at number 2 at 5-1 odds, pretty good value if you're riding with the Dubs. And if you want to lay those bets down, you can do so thanks to our sportsbook partner, BetUS. All year, they've been offering a 125% deposit bonus. Chase, what does that mean? You know what it means? If you plug in that link at the bottom of your screen, chatsports.com/bet, and the promo code to my right, chat125, you get a 125% deposit bonus. Put in $100, get $125 back. That's $225 to game with during the NBA playoffs. Now, the Warriors and the Nuggets, two different teams. There's no question about it. Top dogs for the Dubs. We really can say something about Klay Thompson, right? Like, the fact that he's coming off a torn ACL and a torn Achilles and was able to knock off some of that rust and still be the Warriors' second leading scorer is pretty impressive. I understand the shooting numbers aren't there like they were in his prime years, but shout out to Klay for coming back off those two catastrophic injuries. Steph finishes the year averaging 25.5 points per game. Klay right behind him at north of 20. Jordan Poole in the running for Most Improved Player of the Year award. We broke down that video on the channel. Be sure to check it out. 18.5 points per game for him. After the All-Star break, Andrew Wiggins started to tail off, but 17 points and some defense, I'll take it. And Jonathan Kuminga in his rookie year, the 5th leading scorer for the Dubs. As for the Nuggets, they are paced by the Joker, Nikola Jokic, who is awesome this year, might win his second consecutive MVP award. It's easy to see why. We're showing you the scoring numbers. Folks, he does a lot more than that. Dishing the basketball, rebounding the basketball, generating steals as well as block shots. He is one of one and one of the most special and gifted players that we have ever seen. Aaron Gordon, I really like him as like a number 4 or 5. The fact that he has to be a 2 is one of the reasons why I like the Warriors in this playoff series. Will Barton, Monte Morris, Jeff Green, all good complementary pieces. Here's the thing. You don't want them as some of your primary pieces, and that's the problem for head coach Mike Malone, who's done a great job considering what has happened to his team this year in terms of injuries. Who is the best player in this series? I want you to get into the comment section and let me know, because this is a great debate here. Is it the Joker? Is it Steph Curry? Is it somebody else? Drop me a name or names down below. Some keys I have for this playoff series. Obviously, Steph Curry's health is huge. If the Warriors don't have him in this playoff series and beyond, it severely damages their opportunity to make a deep run in the NBA playoffs. If you have him, and even if he's just a fraction of himself, he can change the complexion of games in a heartbeat. Also, can the Warriors stay healthy? Not just talking about Steph Curry here. How does Draymond Green continue to stay upright coming off that back injury? And Klay Thompson, he's starting to log a lot of miles now coming off those two aforementioned injuries. If the Warriors can stay healthy, yeah, they have another run in them to make a deep run at the NBA championship, but the health is certainly a concern. Jokic, he's going to be a handful. We talk about the Warriors front court earlier on today's show. They do not have a player on the court who can guard him. Now, Draymond Green, I think, is going to get a bulk of the defensive minutes going up against the Joker. But either way, even when Draymond Green is at his premier defensive self, it's a mismatch going up against Jokic. He has the size advantage. His skill set really is just one of a kind. His vision, some of the best, right up there with Luka Doncic. His passing ability just makes you drop your jaw. And then his ability to rebound, but also outlet pass and get his team moving in transition is special. So Kevon Looney, how's he going to be able to even limit the Joker? It's going to be tough. And then lastly, is Jonathan Kuminga going to get big minutes? He is a part of this rotation now. The big question, how much is Steve Kerr going to play him? I think you're going to need to play him because the athletic versatility and lineup versatility that the Denver Nuggets have, and Jonathan Kuminga really aids you in that regard. So before we hop on out of here, I do want to get one more prediction from you. I asked you earlier, I'm going to double down on this. Who wins this playoff series? DEN for the Nuggets, GSW for the Golden State Warriors. I'm going Dubs in 6. And on Sunday's show, I did tell you the first 5 people to comment the correct trivia answer to our trivia question, which was Wilt Chamberlain, we'd give you a shout out. So shout out to Mr. Stein, Lance T711, Michael Timothy, George Barnes, as well as Thiago. Appreciate all of you for being loyal subscribers of Golden State Warriors today. And if you haven't subscribed, do so right now.